What is up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Raw and Relentless. Had my friend Adrian Rae on. She is killing it out there. She is doing so much. She's like me. She's got so many opportunities that she hates letting the balls drop. But I had so much fun talking to her. Definitely check her out on LinkedIn. I'll include her in the show notes. But take a listen and listen to everything that she's doing out there. All right. So, Adrian, thanks for coming on the podcast. Welcome to Raw and Relentless.
Thanks for having me, Bill. Happy to be here with you.
So tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure. So my name is Adrian Rae, and I'll just dive right in. I quit my job a year ago. It was the dream job. Thought I had it all at the top, and realized it just wasn't the day-to-day life that I had hoped for myself. So I made a decision, actually about 5 years prior to that, I made a decision that I was going to pursue real estate as a means of, one, saving for retirement, but then also setting myself up to be able to have the financial means to make a choice. And so that's what I did. And, I set a goal. I didn't hit that goal of how much real estate to own, but still I was at a point where I felt comfortable enough to take the leap and had a few other opportunities and a really strong network around me to kind of lean into. So I went for it.
Nice.
And for the last year, I've been building a marketing agency and building another. Now, what I thought would be the main hustle has turned into the side hustle since the marketing agency has done so well. But also teach people about how to use whole life as a means of saving and storing wealth, and then parlaying that into real estate investment. So still very much involved in real estate on the marketing and investing side.
So what was your dream job that you left?
I was an agent for commercial photographers. I had been in media production, ever since college. So being able to work for one of the top agencies representing insane talents was just an awesome experience. And yeah, it was just time to move on, do something different.
And now with the real estate investing, what kind of asset classes are you investing in?
Personally, I'm invested in single family homes for my Airbnb portfolio right now. And looking to move, I would love to move that active owner business operating, because short-term rental, it's a business. I'd love to move that into passive.
Okay. And so how many short-term rentals do you have in your portfolio right now?
I have 4 listings and manage 7.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And anything else in like the commercial real estate side, or are you strictly just on the short-term rental side?
Right now, just short-term rental. Don't have any commercial at the moment.
Okay. And then your marketing agency, what type of marketing are you handling?
It's very brand focused. So it's helping operators and capital raisers create a brand for themselves, leaning into their personal brand and who they are, and then finding the synergy between their natural personality and their target investor and who they are, and finding the Venn diagram, leaning into that, creating a brand around that, verbal and a visual identity, and then building out the other components of that. So the pitch deck, the email marketing campaign, the whole automated system of managing an investor base and potential investors, and then organic social creation as well.
I was actually are you familiar with Hunter Thompson with Raise Masters?
I am a race master. Yes.
Oh,
I am
you
proud to
are?
say that
Okay.
I am a race master.
Okay. Yeah, I was in Raise Masters the first year he launched it.
Oh, no way.
What a great experience. I gained so much knowledge from that. But now I'm going to be selfish because usually this podcast is to help others, but this is right in my wheelhouse because I myself am, part of my one business, D3 Capital. We're trying to raise capital, right, for some of the deals that we're looking at.
Oh,
so
cool.
what do you suggest? What's the go-to to kind of like get some traction and get your name out there when you're first starting off as a capital raiser, especially when you don't have have a track record?
Oh, yeah. So, I think it starts by, you got to build trust with your audience. So before you even go out and start creating content to attract them and bring them in, there's got to be a safe place for them to land. Because before anybody goes and books a call with you, they are definitely going to be doing their own due diligence and searching for you all across the internet. So just making sure that your messaging is consistent and clear, because a confused mind doesn't move forward. But even prior to that, before you even create your visual or verbal identity and understand, what your messaging is and create words around that, you got to figure out who are you even talking to. And if you try talking to everybody, there's so much noise out there, you're going to get lost for sure. So it's finding out who are the character types, the exact type of people that you most relate to. Whose story can you say back to them and they will feel like, gosh, they know me so well. That's who your target audience should be. And that's who you want to really cater your marketing, messaging, your branding. You want to cater all of that to them so that there's a lot of alignments in what you have to say. So I think that's first and foremost, just understanding who your audience is and then creating the messaging to support that.
Okay.
So step one.
And then now let's dive into the nitty gritty a little bit. When you actually capture a lead, how much should you be throwing your email and text cadence campaigns out there to those type of leads? How often?
Yeah.
Because I think it's different for every industry, right? In a way, but still somewhat similar. Like, I own gyms. And so I know some gyms that when they capture your lead information, if you go to their website or you see an ad for a free pass, right? And you're putting in your name and your email and your phone number. I know some gym brands that will literally send you 8 emails a day and 3 text messages a day for like the first 30 days. Yeah. But then I know some other brands that, maybe they're one time a day, one every other day. So what type of cadence do you like to see for the capital raising industry?
Yeah, and I could probably guess what types of gyms are sending out those different cadences. Probably that 8 times a day is more of a lower entry, and they probably experience a lot of turnover, much cheaper to get in the door. So whereas the maybe once a day, a little slower pace, they're giving off more of a luxury, high end. They understand there's a little more of a financial investment, and they really want to lock you in. Something that might come with a little more consideration. So that being said, when you're asking somebody for $25, $50, $100,000+, you might want to be a little more considerate about the pace. And then I would also say, how do you feel when you're bombarded with emails and text messages over and over again? For you, does it feel natural, and does it feel like this is a good mode of communication? Because again, you want to go back to understanding who your target investor is and treating them how you want to be treated at the end of the day. And I mean, there's really not anything more of a science or a mystery to marketing, I believe, than communicating on a human to human basis. So I think for these more high ticket investments, I think there should be a little more room to breathe. So my typical welcome series is about 2 days. And then of course there are if then considerations, as someone's clicking through the call to actions in the email, things do switch up a bit. But that initial welcome series, when somebody lands on your website, maybe they download your lead magnet. From there, now you have their email address. You could start hitting them up maybe twice a day to really warm them up to get to the point where they want to book a call. Because while they're interested, you do want to retain their interest. You don't want to let them go cold, let your email get buried in their inbox. So keep their attention, but be respectful that this is a larger investment for a lot of people. So yeah, that's the general rule of thumb, I think. But again, it does kind of change depending on who your investor is and what that price point is that you're trying to bring them in at. So, yeah, some nuances.
Do you think that the rule of thumb still holds? I think it's pretty much marketing 101, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong. Where it's usually 8 to 10 touches before you actually get a lead to convert. Do you think that's pretty much the same in the capital raising business?
I do, but it is interesting because in capital raising, you don't always have a deal. And it may be 6 months before you actually have a deal, and you better have touch base with them more than that. So, and not to mention, if you're raising for a 506B, you have to have 3. So those have to be 3 phone calls, and it's going to take, probably 8 to 10 for them to get on the phone with you to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time somebody's actually making an investment with you, I think they're going to be having a lot more contact. They're going to be in your ecosystem more frequently than that in order to build the relationship, especially if they're coming in cold with no prior recommendations or knowledge of who you are. They've learned about you through an ad or on a podcast. This is a great way to connect with investors. So yeah, I think it does, but even north of that.
Okay. What do you think? There's so many channels to market: email, text messaging. You have your social media, your website. What do you think builds the most trust and the most traction with prospects when it comes to getting leads and converting those leads? Like for me, when I first joined Raise Masters, I did an ebook, right? So my ebook was about depreciation and doing 1031 exchanges. I think my method when I did that was I had gotten a cold email list and kind of blasted that out there to the cold email list just to get traction. But it's been a few years since I've been part of Raise Masters. What's changed? What do you think is working nowadays?
Well, let me ask you, how did that work? Did it produce a lot of, did you get feedback from it?
I want to say it was very low. I think I could have done it better. I think getting a cold email list it's very hard to convert those leads. It's very hard because one, you don't know if all the email addresses are accurate. Two, a lot of those might go into spam or junk folders. So your open rates are shit, right? I think that, and this is one of the biggest reasons of starting the podcast, is A, I've got a lot more experience now, but B, it helps you kind of build that trust and build that awareness that you don't get with, the cold emails and whatnot. So hindsight, and funny thing is Hunter, who runs Raise Masters, said day one, start a podcast. And I never did.
Totally. He's been saying that. Yeah.
I never did. And so now here we are 3 years later. If I had started this podcast 3 years ago, there'd be, who knows?
No capital issues.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So
it's so true. The podcast is great.
Yeah.
And
moral of the story, I don't think that the ebook, I got a lot of traction with that.
Yeah, but also, that was 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. The landscape, about 3 years ago, right? I think that's when you started. It's very different. There's a lot more noise out there. So I think the podcast is great because the people who are going to be coming to your podcast who are downloading and listening on a regular basis, there are people who are interested in you and what you have to say and the types of guests you bring on. So this is an absolutely perfect way to align with your target investor. So a podcast is phenomenal. I think that's one of the best ways. An ebook, I think it really depends because you got to figure out if that topic is something that your target investor is even interested in. You said depreciation in 1031. I think 1031 is pretty niche, super niche because, both of them. They're pretty advanced concepts for like a beginner investor and situational. Somebody has to have an existing asset to 1031 into another property, but then also, you've got to have the means of accepting 1031 through your syndication model as well. So I think the topic really needs to speak to the audience as well. It can't, if you're talking to other gym owners or other people at your gym, it's got to be something that you guys all find alignment with. And then branding it in that way too. So I did a sort of a rebrand of somebody's ebook once, and he was speaking to fitness salesmen and just kind of tweaking the words. It was an online course that they could download. It was a 7-day boot camp. Because boot camp kind of, that speaks to that industry. I forgot what his title was beforehand, but making that switch felt so much more in line with the messaging and his brand in general. So, I definitely think you're on the right track now with the podcast. This is great. This helps you create a lot of content too that you will put out across your organic channels that people will use to verify and, satisfy their gut check when they want to get on, if they're interested in getting on a call with you.
Yeah,
So
totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you got to use it all, right? I mean, you can't just stick to one channel. You've got to diversify and do as much marketing as possible.
So you do, and I think there can be a lot of overwhelm when people hear, they're like, oh my gosh, there's so many platforms. Do I really need to be on TikTok? I don't know that you really do. You don't need to be on Snapchat, first of all. But I think finding where your audience lives, and I think that's part of the deep dive of digging in and deciding who am I going to be talking to and where do they hang out. Like when I do a brand guidelines worksheet, work session with my clients, we go through the demographics, which is pretty clear. Like you can figure out who the demographics are, like your 10 dream investors, who these avatars are. But then we have to figure out what their psychographics are. And their psychographics are what really drive their decision-making and their values. And that's what we really want to tap into. That's where their emotion is going to lead them to take action. So figuring out where they hang out online, I think is paramount. Create content for that one leading platform. And there are so many tools and ways that you can repurpose, remix, and I call it create derivatives for the other platforms. And those are secondary, tertiary. You don't need to be putting out original content there initially. Working up to that is great. But focusing on your lead platform where you get the most traction, most direct contact with your target investor is key.
Do you recommend a CRM or any kind of marketing platform to do email and text campaigns?
Yeah, absolutely. And glad you asked because I am launching mine very shortly. It's kicking out the pilot project. Yeah. It's called The Links, and it's actually a build out on top of Go High Level. It's relatively newer CRM. It's making quite a splash. It promises a lot and it delivers quite a bit as well. It's really awesome. So that's a great platform. Go High Level is awesome. It's got a relatively low entry point, but it does come as a blank slate and it could be a little bit daunting. And that covers everything from CRM to email marketing, to social media management, calendar, scheduling, all of that as well. And then you have some of the more focused ones like Active Campaign. They're really focusing on the email marketing. HubSpot, very robust, maybe a little more enterprise. As you add in more contacts, it can get quite expensive. And if you're really just starting out, I just got to get my email list out, then start something very simple like MailChimp. ConvertKit has a lot of options there as well. So yeah, there are tons of platforms out there nowadays. But if anybody is interested in the Links pilot program, let me know.
We'll be sure to drop the link. You got a link for that? We'll drop that in the show notes.
I will send that over.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I started with Active Campaign, and then on the capital raising side, on the gym side, I did a platform called ClubOS, which is pretty popular in the industry. And then I just wanted to consolidate, so I ended up moving everything over to HubSpot. So all of my marketing is through HubSpot now. And you're right, HubSpot is extremely robust, but it can get very costly, especially when you're first starting off. So I think Active Campaign is a great tool to start off with because you could still do text messaging and still do the email. The only thing it really doesn't do is it's not really like a CRM, right? It's more of an email marketing. Yeah. I think they're probably building in more CRM features lately. I haven't tinkered with that one too much. But yeah, I mean, High Level is pretty amazing with all of the boxes it checks. Texting, of course, they do that as well. So it's definitely worth looking into. So I'm a numbers nerd. That was one of the biggest reasons why I switched to HubSpot is because of the reporting that you get with it. So how does High Level do their reporting? Does it give you your ROI? Does it give you all of those key metrics like open, click-through rate, all of that stuff?
Yeah. Yep. Everything you would typically expect to find within an email marketing platform. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, that's good to know. So what's the price point of something like for High Level? Do you know?
Yeah, starting out, it's $97 if you go straight through High Level. And then you'll find a lot of builds on top of High Level. So the links, it's a built out system specifically tailored for capital raisers. So there's the entry level at 97 as well. And you get some basic automations, pipelines, templates there. And then the next tier up for me is 297. And that one comes with more robust, new active deals, a few more features, additional plugins. And then my highest tier is 560. And that actually includes a really awesome AI chat assistant, very conversational, super powerful, and a few other additional add-ons. So when you're buying somebody's build on top of the high level platform, the pricing can vary for sure, but straight from high level, $97 out of the box, blank slate, you can build it out to be your own. And there's some really good help you can find on Upwork or Fiverr, a lot of experienced people that can build it out. They also have a support system where they have their own vetted high level, let's say experts, kind of an open marketplace of high level experts to help you get started as well.
That's
a lot of support.
Awesome. And that's actually very, very reasonably priced for a marketing platform.
It is, especially because it's unlimited contacts, unlimited users.
Wow.
Yeah.
Adrian, where were you a few years ago when I needed a new CRM?
Buried in my full-time job.
Where do you think where do you think AI is going with marketing? I'd be curious your point of view.
I think it's going bonkers. And I don't know if it's getting a little gimmicky, I gotta say. But I think that's okay. People are testing the waters, figuring it out. I think some things will be stripped away, but I think it's always going to be producing new products, new results. It is insanely powerful. And I mean, everybody's been saying it, those that know how to use it as a tool will find great success. And either those people that are depending on it to replace their brain, or those people that are avoiding it like the plague will definitely fall short. So it's not going anywhere. That's for sure.
That is for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. There are just a lot of kind of gimmicks out there right now. But it'll be interesting to see how these tools kind of evolve and become more legitimate and more useful. I use it every day, and I'm always on it. And I personally love Claude for helping me write. There are these couple other platforms that do a lot of great copywriting, but everything that comes out gets edited. So it's not the end all be all. It's not the final product.
Right.
So I think it's important for people to realize its potential and its limitations, and then continue to use your own brain as well.
Yeah, I read on the way in to work this morning that Instagram is getting ready to roll out it's an AI tool built into Instagram that you can create all of your own chatbots for your account.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's getting wild out there. It's the wild west with AI.
Yeah, so that's going to add a lot of noise, and direct messaging is going to become less effective for sure. So I think this is way more reason to move people out of social media and onto your email list. That is more important than ever these days, because you have no control what these social media platforms are doing, how they're changing things. They want to retain their users, keep them on the platform for sure. And they're probably going to start, link in bio, words like that drive people to go click outside of the platform will become, less incentivized. Not like it is incentivized, but they'll start hurting you for doing those things. So start capturing their emails while you can, and figure out really clever ways to get them off the platform and into your own owned ecosystem. And that's really going to be the way you retain attention and keep them as loyal. As a loyal audience.
Going back to email for a second, what do you think is a good open and click-through rate when it comes to emails?
It's pretty low, honestly. 6%, that seems pretty standard. But there's a lot of noise out there. So if you're getting anywhere north of 6, 10, 12, that's great. That's pretty solid.
On the open rate, 6%?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what do you think on the click-through rate once opened?
Um, 4, 5.
4%?
I mean, yeah,
That's really
yeah,
good.
it drops down.
I
Yeah.
would love to have those numbers. I would
Yeah.
love, I would love to have those numbers.
Yeah. I mean, you got to be able to tweak your messaging and make sure your subject line is grabbing attention, um, and keeping your readers engaged. Yeah.
That's one thing that I have been really trying to work hard on in 2024 is our email metrics with open and click-through rates, especially on the gym side, because I don't think that a lot of people understand that if you've got a contact list of 10,000 contacts, let's say, depending on how engaged those contacts are, you might only be sending to 1,000 because maybe
True.
9,000 have been unengaged for more than 90 days and then they fall off the list. At least that's how my CRM works. And yeah, you could remarket to those contacts after 90 days, but then your rates go down, right? Your open and click-through rates go down even more because now you're sending to more, but less people are opening them or clicking through. So yeah, exactly like you just said. We've been trying to play with subject lines. We've been trying to play with content, copy, actually in the email. I mean, there is a lot to marketing. It's one thing that this is one thing they don't teach you in college. They don't teach you this unless you're actually doing it in the real world. There is a lot to marketing.
And it's changing all the time because new platforms, it's moving at lightning speed right now. But yeah, there really is a lot. But one thing that hasn't changed is a good hook, good writing, good copywriting. That's always been the case in advertising, marketing. So really understanding how to talk to your audience and what moves them to take action. Those rules won't be changing. It's just how you send out that message will be shifting constantly. But I mean, for now, email marketing is still holding up as the strongest way. I think it's like a 4,200% return on investment through email marketing. So if you're spending money, energy, time anywhere, it's definitely got to be building your email marketing list and crafting a sequence that really speaks to them. So, and yeah, definitely after 90 days, put them into a re-engagement sequence, fire back up again. Sure, you may see your click-through open rates go down, but if you have your list kind of segmented, you can look at this sequence versus this sequence and have a better idea of which one's performing and how.
Yeah. Is your goal to continue to scale the agency, or are you looking to more scale the real estate passive income side of your businesses?
Yeah, I think my real estate passive income will be always a personal endeavor. I'll always be personally investing and building up my own real estate portfolio. And I definitely do want to scale the marketing agency and scale the whole life side of my business too, because I love working with real estate investors and other creatives from my past life to teach them how to use that asset to warehouse their wealth and then use the living benefits that are inherently available when those policies are written correctly. It's a really powerful tool. So I definitely want to spread the message about that. I just really feel compelled to introduce more people to the options outside of the stock market. If you're into the stock market, that's great. We all know what type of results it produces, but there are other options and other ways for you to take control of your own finances. So just teaching more people, providing access for passive real estate investments, either through the marketing agency or actually introducing people to operators or capital raisers that have a great deal, and connecting their dollars is something I definitely want to lean into some more also.
So explain the whole life. I'm actually always been curious about how that works. How exactly can you build wealth? How can you use it as a storehouse? How exactly does that work?
Yeah, so it's definitely, it is a life insurance product, and life insurance has two buckets, term and permanent, and it falls under the permanent. And this product itself has been around for over 200 years. So whole life is a tried and true asset. And when purchased through a mutual life insurance company, they've vetted the ones that have been around for the 200 plus years, what we can do is design it differently instead of an out of the box. Typically, when you go and buy life insurance, you'll decide on your death benefits. Well, when you do it that way, through whole life, it becomes very expensive because you're putting all of your premium dollars just to the benefit, just to the death benefit.
Mm-hmm.
Alternatively, what we do is we create two components: the base premium, which pays for the death benefit, and then the paid up additions, which helps you build up equity in these policies at a much faster rate. And you can liken this to, say, your mortgage and how you build equity in your home. So when you're making a premium payment that is composed of those two aspects, your death benefit payment maybe, I don't know, anywhere from 30 to 60% of what you're paying, and the remainder goes into paid up additions. So you're seeing your equity in these policies grow a lot faster. And what the insurance company will let you do is take a loan out against your against your cash value. So you're basically collateralizing what you have stored in your cash value.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can use that in other investments. Because the beauty of what this loan allows for, compared to, say, if you were to take out a HELOC or borrow against your 401k, which comes with tons of restrictions, both of those options are also structured. So you've got a repayment terms and a relatively high, because it's going to be tied to the Fed rate, interest rate, relatively high monthly payment that's due almost immediately. So when you borrow against a whole life policy, instead, it's an unstructured loan. So there isn't a repayment term. There isn't an amount that's due. So you're able to move that money into something like a real estate investment that often needs some time to season before it is producing cash flow for you to go back and repay the loan. And when you borrow the loan from an insurance company right now, it's at about 5%. And if you're going to invest that in a real estate deal that's making you double digits, well, that's a great spread. You've just made 7 to 10% on your money. Meanwhile, your cash value in your whole life policy is still compounding interest at, say, roughly 5%. So now you've got two assets generating wealth for you at the same time. You have not interrupted the compound growth of your whole life, policy, and you are growing that, using that same dollar to grow wealth over here in a hard asset such as real estate or whatever. Go put it in the stock market if you feel like whatever. So in the best way to think of these policies is actually, the death benefit is fantastic. It's super important to have for your family, but it's also a sequencing tactic. So if you insert this, when money comes into your system, because you get paid by somebody, typically it goes out, leaves your wealth. If you've put it into a savings account, well, when you need to go pay for something, you withdraw it. And that's a dead end dollar now. It's no longer working for you. But instead, when you enter whole life into the equation, it comes into your, you earn money, goes into your whole life policy. Now you can borrow against it and have that dollar working for you in multiple places. And then once you get this flywheel working, it's a monster and it's amazing. And you can have multiple policies. It's an incredible tool that has been around for over 200 years. And it's based on contract law. So you're in a contract between yourself and the insurance company. So it's pretty amazing.
So what's a typical whole life policy dollar amount that people are getting?
So it starts off understanding what is the monthly amount that you feel comfortable contributing, because you can pay your policy annually, monthly, quarterly, however you want. But whatever that cadence is, we want to make sure that you feel very comfortable maintaining that payment for at least 7 to 10 years. At that point, your policy is pretty juiced up, and you'll be able to. We could do some other use the dividends, cash value. We could structure it differently. So understanding what that amount is most important. From there, that determines what your death benefit will be. And also understanding your goals. How do you want to use this? Like, okay, I want to be able to make passive investments in real estate. I want to be able to borrow 50 to 100K. All right. So to get to that point, as quickly as possible. How much cash do you have available now? Where are you currently storing? Where are you saving your money? How can we kind of reconfigure your current financial system to allocate dollars instead to this whole life policy? So we can pretty easily find money to fund these things. But it's just really digging into everybody's individual situation and then custom designing these policies to best suit their needs and their goals.
That's fascinating. I always hear people talk about it, but I never really ever understood the dynamics behind it. It's pretty interesting.
It's so interesting. I never thought in a million years that I would work in insurance. I have been the creative type my whole life. I've worked in film production, commercials, photography. Like, this is so ridiculous. But when you find something this cool, it is just, it's awesome. And I really want to bring this, make it mainstream and make it cool again. This used to be how people would save. This was their retirement plans. 401ks only came about late 80s, early 90s, and we're starting to see them go through their full life cycle with the workforce, and they've underpromised. They aren't a surefire ticket to a well-financed retirement.
Sure.
Not to mention, we're living longer. Our medical expenses are going up.
Yes.
So how do you prepare for this? $1 million in retirement isn't going to get you very far. So if you're just counting on your minimum contributions to your 401k, you really need to take a pause and consider how you want your retirement years to go. And how are you going to be able to fund those? So
that is a fact. I mean, they keep pushing the Social Security age up, right? And who knows by the time that me and you are ready to retire, Social Security will even be around.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, and you are right about 401ks because, I mean, I know like '08. No, let me backtrack. I could remember people that had 401ks in late 90s, early 2000s when the tech bubble burst and they lost more than 50% of the valuation of their retirement. So which is almost like, in a way, starting over. Then '08, the recession in '08 hit. Then they got hit again, right? And then COVID, they get hit again. So you are 100% right. 401ks are not your best course of investment. It's what we talked about since the start of this podcast. It's real estate, and like you're saying, whole life policies are a great option as well.
Yeah, especially since you can leverage that to take advantage of investment, more speculative, kind of using like house money, making it speculative. All investments are speculative. So to be able to know that you're not losing money on that, a whole life policy is guaranteed to never go down. You're guaranteed to never lose money, contract law. So to know that you will always keep the dollar that you've used to make a speculative investment, whether that goes up or down. That's just insane security that you can't find in any other financial tool.
Right. Yeah. Is this also what they consider like infinite banking?
This structure has been deemed infinite banking. Nelson Nash kind of dug in and studied the Rockefellers. This is what they've done, how they've managed their wealth, and how that family has continued to, keep their financial legacy strong through generations. So he went through and really identified this process, packaged it up, labeled it, called it infinite banking. So this process is known as infinite banking.
Okay. I'm going to have to get with you off to the side so I can
for sure
learn more and maybe get involved in this a little bit more. This is good stuff.
Yeah. It's awesome. And, there's a lot of gurus, a lot of people talking about it out there. So it's just really important that people talk to somebody they trust, go slow, go slow. But another tip would be, if this is something you're interested in, this policy is based on your health. So you do have to be healthy, or at least have a healthy spouse or child that you can put the policy on, and then you can use their life, and then you can use it for your investing purposes.
Okay.
So if somebody's considering this, I would say get a convertible term policy right now, because you'll have 10 years to convert that into whole life. And it locks in your health at this point. Right now, you're definitely your youngest and you're probably your healthiest.
Yeah.
So convertible firm right now, lock this in. You don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or the next day, but being able to have this policy can provide so many opportunities and possibilities for you in the future. So while you're learning about it, it's a great way to just secure your health before you sit back and wait.
I got to look into that because I've got 2 term policies that I had to get when I bought the businesses. The bank required it. I have to see if they're convertible, because if they're convertible, I've had them for several years. That could be a good play, like what you're talking about.
It could be. Yeah, definitely worth looking into.
Yeah. What's next on the short-term rental side? How much are you trying to scale that side of the business?
I go back and forth all the time. I think at this point, I would love to move into larger assets. Not so many roofs, not so many doors. So if I'm going to stay in hospitality, I'd like to move that into maybe a boutique hotel. And I think this really depends on the type of partners that I can collaborate with. That's not a path I want to go solo. You can't. I don't want to do it by myself. So I'd be interested in partnering with people on a boutique hotel and having a lot of fun creating that guest experience. And that would be really cool. I think that's definitely a hands-on. I think that's a passion project. Maybe prior to that, I might consider 1031, doing 1031 exchange from my single family homes into multifamily assets. Maybe it is passive. Maybe it's a little more of a JV deal. So still exploring, still
what's
chewing on
considered
it.
a boutique hotel?
Quite honestly, I don't know what the door count is, but it's definitely not your chains, your franchises, Marriott or the likes of those. So more the mom and pop owned smaller hotels. They probably have anywhere from like 50 doors down, 50 beds down. Not sure what that count is, but it's something where we as the owners can drive the creative vision and the business plan for this hotel and create really cool experience for guests. Because I do love that about Airbnb. I love the hospitality. I love the decorating and making it look really cool and giving it a theme and a vibe. So all that's really fun, and it really scratches my creative itch to create something for somebody to enjoy. So I think a hotel would be the next big step in that strategy.
So you would run the boutique hotel through Airbnb then?
Yeah, most likely. I mean, it's a great platform to get the most eyes on your property, but I think a direct booking is key, especially since I know how important it is to own your email list. So getting them to book directly, we could then push out more deals and have more repeat guests come back to the property. So a direct booking site would be necessary for sure.
That's awesome. So many ways to make money in this world, right?
So many, it's crazy. And it can be overwhelming, have shiny object syndrome. I'm definitely guilty of that for sure.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. That's awesome. Well, Adrian, I really appreciate you coming on. Where can everyone get a hold of you or see you?
LinkedIn is what I consider my leading platform. So I would encourage people to hit me up on LinkedIn if they want to talk about marketing, whole life, real estate, anything. Find me on LinkedIn, Adrian Rae.
Awesome. Well, thanks again for coming on. It was a blast, and we're going to have to get you back on, and so we could talk a little bit more about some of this other stuff that you're working on.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Bill. Appreciate
Thanks,
it.
Adrian.
All right.